everybody, it's Mel. Thank you so much for joining me today for my March stats and my Diversify Me game. So for those of you that don't know, the Diversify Me game is a game that I play every single month, and it's a way of tracking some of my goals around diversification. So one of my goals in 2023 is to diversify my reading, both from the point of view of reading from non-white, non-straight perspectives, but also reading outside of my comfort zone from format perspectives as well. So what I have is a board, and on the board, which you'll see in a moment, because it's all set up, on the board we have a bunch of different things that I want to try and read from those perspectives or from those formats. Like I said, as a way to diversify my reading. I go through every single book that I read throughout the previous month. Once I have 3 lines in a particular row, I then get a magnet in the bottom section, which is my section for magnets. Once that's all filled up, I then get to have a prize. So I get lines for each time that a book meets a particular criteria, but then also every month I need to have at least one book, that can be the same book, but at least one book that features LGBTQIA+ rep and one book that features a BIPOC author. If I don't meet those 2 criteria every month, then I will end up losing magnets. I will link my January goals video where I go through that in a lot more detail, so you have a lot more idea of what is going on, but that is the very brief explanation of what is happening. So we're going to do that now in a minute. Then I will come back again and tell you my stats for the month of March. I've decided to do the stats in this video because this video is usually very short, whereas my wrap-up is usually quite long, and I ended up finding that I was getting to the end of the wrap-up and just not really giving stats that much life or interest, and it just seemed like it was more sensible to keep it here. So let's go now and we'll do the game. Alright, so first up we have Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. So Leigh Bardugo is not a BIPOC author. There is no LGBTQIA+ rep, no neurodiverse rep. I think there is some mental health rep, but I don't know how effective it is, so I'm not going to give myself a line for that. She's not an Australian Aboriginal author. It was written in English and I read it in English. It's not a comic, graphic novel or manga. Not poetry, nor was it written in verse. Not a short story, I didn't read it as an arc, and it is set in the Global West. So no lines for Ninth House. I also don't think that I will end up getting any lines for Hellbent, but let's see. So, Leigh Bardugo is not a BIPOC author. There is no LGBTQIA+ rep, no neurodiverse rep. Same again, mental health, but I'm not sure how authentic it is, so I'm just going to leave that. Not an Australian Aboriginal author. I didn't read it as a translated version. It is not a comic, graphic novel or a manga. Not poetry or written in verse. Not a short story. Didn't read it as an arc, and it is set in the Global West. So no lines for Hellbent either. Then we have I Was Born for This by Alice Oseman. Alice Oseman is not a BIPOC author, so no lines there. However, there is quite a bit of LGBTQIA+ rep in their books, so I get a line for that. Neurodiverse, I'd say no. Mental health, yes, there is mental health rep, so I get a line for that as well. Australian Aboriginal author, no they are not. Not translated, not a comic, graphic novel or manga. Not poetry or written in verse. Not a short story. Didn't read it as an arc, and it is not set in it is set in the Global West. Then we have Loveless by Alice Oseman as well. Again, Alice Oseman is not a BIPOC author, however, Loveless does also have LGBTQIA+ rep as well, so that's a line there. Not neurodiverse. I'd also say Loveless deals with some mental health issues, so that's another line for that. Again, Alice Oseman is not an Australian Aboriginal author. The book wasn't translated. Well, I didn't read it translated. It is not a comic, graphic novel or manga. Not a poetry, nor was it written in verse. It is not a short story. I didn't read it as an arc, and it is in fact set in the global west. So no lines there, but I got LGBTQIA+, so that's covered, so thank goodness for that. Then we have Riviera Gold by Lore King. Lore King is not a BIPOC author, so that is not a line. There is no LGBTQIA+ rep, no neurodiverse rep. I don't think mental health either. She's not an Australian Aboriginal author. It was written in English, so I don't get a line there. Not a comic, graphic novel, or manga. Not poetry, nor was it written in verse. Not a short story, didn't read it as an arc, and it is not. I mean, it is set in the global west. So unfortunately, no lines with that one. And then lastly, we have Strike the Zither by Joan He. Joan He is a BIPOC author, so I get a line for that, which is a relief, because otherwise I would have had to take off one of my magnets. There's no LGBTQIA+ rep, no neurodiverse rep, no mental health rep, or physical health rep. Joan He is not an Australian Aboriginal author. I did not read it translated. Not a comic, graphic novel, or manga. Not poetry or written in verse. Not a short story. Didn't read it as an arc, and it's not set. I mean, it's not set in the global west, but it's based on Chinese mythology. I think I get a line for that. Let me know in the comments whether you think that I should get a line for that, but I think I get a line for that. Okay, so as you just saw, I did manage to meet those two criterias, and I also got a couple of lines in some other spaces, which I'm pretty happy about. Didn't get myself any more 3-line sections, so no more magnets as of yet, but I'm pretty close on a couple, so that's very exciting. And yeah, that was how we went with Diversify Me. And let's now talk about the stats. So in March, I read 6 books and 2,475 pages. Of those books, 4 were physical, 1 was an audiobook. I didn't read any ebooks throughout March, and I did have 1 that I read both physically and, ebook actually, and audio, and that was I Was Born for This by Alice Oseman. I had 2 books that had LGBTQIA+ rep, 1 book that had BIPOC rep. There were no Australian Indigenous authors, no books translated, and no books that were arcs. So not great there, but overall okay. My average rating for Star, I had 4.25, which is amazing. For Corpile, I had 8.007, which was also amazing. For breakdowns, we'll go first with Stars, which goes like this: 1, 0, 1.5, 0, 2, 0, 2.5, 0, 3, 0, 3.5, 2 books, 4, 0, 4.5, 3 books, and 5 stars, 1 book. So I think that means that I'm choosing quite well, and I'm choosing books that I am really enjoying, which I'm really happy about. So yeah, that's a pretty exciting thing. And then the breakdown for genre, I had 1 fantasy, 1 historical fiction, 2 paranormal, and 2 contemporary. I didn't actually look at my YouTube stats at the end of March, so I'm not 100% sure how I'm going there, but I do know that I've been sitting on 1,090 something for the last month and a half, and it keeps going back from like 94 to 96 to 94 to 96. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but not much I can do about it. So I just have to keep, producing the stuff that I like, and hopefully you guys like, and hope for the best. But yeah, those are the stats. That's my Diversify Me game. Let me know if there's anything else that you'd like to know in these videos. Let me know if you have any other comments, any suggestions on the way that I do things, or like I said, any other stats you'd like to know about. Please do comment all those things down below. If you'd like to leave me a comment but you don't know what, then leave me some kind of smiley face emoji, because we're doing quite well with the smiley face column. All of my social media details are listed in the description below, so if you'd like to go and follow me on any of those other platforms, please feel free to do so. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would absolutely love it if you would subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. And yeah, like I said, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.